Welcome back to Mason-Dixon Acres. Today we are going to talk about seed starting.
We are Alex and Elena, a couple in our mid-20s working towards financial independence and self-sustainability.
Follow our journey as we grow, build, fix, and learn the skills we need to get us there. Let's first talk about containers. One thing you need to keep in mind is that seeds need a moist, warm environment in order to germinate. So you want some type of container that's going to help you hold in the moisture. There's several things that you can find at Home Depot, Walmart, or a nursery, and the two most common options are a plastic container like you see here, and then some type of biodegradable material like you see here. Now, I've tried using both of these different containers when seed starting, and I highly recommend going with the plastic. Now, I'm not a huge fan of plastic overall, but I'm mainly not a fan of single-use plastic. This is the type of plastic that you're going to be able to use year after year. Now, the reason why I would choose plastic over the biodegradable material is because this material causes the soil to dry out very, very quickly. And if there's a day or two that you forget to water your little seedlings, there's a good chance that they're going to dry up and they're not going to make it. So I highly recommend using the plastic because it's going to help hold in that moisture in the plant. Now, the second thing to consider with your container is the size of the container. So you can see here that these cells are pretty small for my seed starts. Now, if you start your plants in something this small, you're going to eventually have to transplant those seeds. If you're not interested in transplanting seeds, you're going to want to start out with something bigger, something around this size. I personally don't mind transplanting, so I usually transplant into styrofoam cups or plastic containers such as this. I use whatever I have on hand, and then I use it year after year. An idea to get some of these containers for free is to ask your family members, coworkers, or friends to save containers when they buy plants at a nursery. This is what I have done, and I have acquired too many containers at this point, but it's a great way to get some containers for free. The next thing we need to talk about is soil. When you are seed starting, you want to buy a mix that specifically says that it's seed starting mix. Majority of these mixes will contain peat moss, vermiculite, and some type of coconut coir. It doesn't have to contain all of those things, but most of them will. I believe that I bought this bag at either Walmart or Home Depot. You can find it at most big box stores. Keep in mind that majority of the seed starting mixes don't contain nutrients for your seedlings. So if you want to provide food for your seedlings, you're going to have to add a separate type of fertilizer as they grow. To be honest, the past 2 years that I've seed started, I did not add any type of fertilizer the whole time that the seedlings grew. And for most part, that would be from anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks that they were indoors. This year, I'm gonna actually fertilize mine, and I will show you that process in the next couple of weeks. Let's briefly talk about seeds. When you go to the store, you're going to see organic seeds versus non-organic seeds. You're gonna ask yourself, should I get my seeds at Walmart? Should I buy my seeds at the dollar store, Home Depot? Honestly, I would just say buy the seeds wherever it is convenient to you, especially if you're just getting started. Don't get overwhelmed by the different varieties. Just buy stuff that you think you'll enjoy growing and eating from your garden. The last thing we need to talk about before we get started into the actual process of seed starting is we need to talk about light source and watering. So I already mentioned before that you're gonna need your seedlings to stay moist. A friend had taught me that you can use an olive oil container to water your plants so that they don't drown. You'll notice that once your seedlings germinate and break the soil, that they are very delicate, and if you use a regular watering can, you're gonna knock over the plant. So I recommend using something like a dropper or something that's gonna be a little bit more delicate with watering. The second thing is lighting. This is super important when it comes to growing healthy plants. If you don't have the proper lighting set up, your plants are going to show it. And what I mean by that is that your plants are going to get this legginess. And that means they basically become very, very stringy and long, and they don't have a very solid stem. When it comes to lighting, putting your seedlings next to a window is not good enough. You need something that will hover directly over the seedlings. I purchased this light from Amazon when I first got it started with seed starting. Essentially what it does is it clips onto the edge of a table like so, and then you can bend it over top of your seedlings. And then you can adjust the height as you would like. You can turn it on and off. I don't have it plugged in right now, but you turn it on and off. But you want to make sure that your light is close to where the seedlings are planted. I have since upgraded from this light that I had bought on Amazon because now I grow a lot more seedlings, and I'll show you that setup as well.
This is my upgraded light setup. I purchased a rack at Home Depot, and then I purchased the lights off of Amazon. One thing I really liked about these lights was that they daisy chain together, so I only need one power source. I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description so that you can find these on Amazon if you're interested in going this route.
Enough talking, let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is you want to prep your soil for the planting. When you buy your seed starting soil, it should be sterile, but what I like to do is I pour it into a bucket, and then I pour some really, really hot water over top of it and mix it in. Whenever you're doing this, be careful because you are pouring really, really hot water into the soil. So before you start mixing, make sure you kind of let it cool off, or use gloves or something so that you don't burn your hand.
You want the moisture content to be similar to a wrung out sponge. You don't want to put too much water in there that it's soaking wet, but you want enough moisture in there that the seeds have a good starting point.
Once your soil is prepped and ready, now you're gonna put it into your containers.
One thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about watering is that a lot of people like to use the bottom watering method, which is putting water in a tray similar to the one that you see here and allowing the seedlings to suck up the water as they need it. I personally do not use this method, and the only reason being is because a lot of my trays have holes in them. Otherwise, I probably would use this method as well. So you're probably wondering, when the heck am I supposed to start planting my seeds? Your seed starting schedule will depend on the area that you live in and the plant that you are planting. So if you're planting a cool weather crop, then you're going to want to start those indoors earlier than something like a tomato or a pepper plant. Most seed packets have a suggested start time on the back based on the region that you live in, so I would suggest using that as your guide. There are several plants that you should never start indoors, and one of those is carrots. Anything that is a root vegetable should not be planted indoors because their root system is super sensitive to transplanting. Some people also recommend to not start squash or any type of melon plant indoors, but I personally haven't had any issues with these. On the back of your seed packet, you'll see a recommended sowing depth. I personally don't focus on this too much, and I just go ahead and put a couple of seeds in each cell because not every seed is going to germinate, so I usually do about 3 to 5 seeds per cell, and then I try my best to find them with a pencil and poke them into the soil. If I'm not able to find them because some seeds are really hard to see, I will just stir around the top of the soil, and then I might put some soil on top. There is another method of starting your seeds called overseeding. This method should only be used with certain types of plants such as lettuce and herbs. This is where you will put something like 14 to 20 seeds per cell. And the idea with this is that you're going to get a lot of seeds growing in one space, and then you will harvest them in that way. They won't be individual plants when you transplant them outdoors. The last and final thing you need to do is you need to label what you planted. This doesn't seem like it's important, and you're probably going to tell yourself, I will definitely remember what I planted here, but I can guarantee you, you will not remember.
Thank you so much for watching. If you have any additional questions, make sure to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. Also, make sure to click the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and we would love it if you were to share it with a friend who's also interested in starting a garden. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks to share with you how the plants are doing and how I plan to feed them.